There is a war going on right now, in this very moment, inside every single person watching this, and most people don't even know they're a soldier in it. It's not a war fought with weapons. It's a war fought with thoughts. And whoever wins the war inside your mind ends up writing the story of your entire life. Let me say that again, because it's that important. Whoever controls your mind controls your life. And if it isn't you doing the controlling, then someone or something else is doing it for you, usually without your permission, and usually not in your favor. Before we go any further, tell me down in the comments where you're watching this from. I always love seeing how far these words travel, city to city, country to country. Now let's get into it. I want to start with a simple truth that took me years to fully understand. The mind is not naturally your servant. Left untrained, the mind becomes your master, and a cruel one at that. It will replay old arguments at 2 a.m. It will remind you of every mistake you've ever made right before an important meeting. It will manufacture fear about things that haven't even happened yet and probably never will. The untrained mind is like a wild horse, powerful, yes, full of energy, yes, but if nobody's holding the reins, that horse is going to run wherever it pleases. And it's going to drag you along whether you like the direction or not. So the first question you have to ask yourself is this: am I holding the reins of my own mind? Or has my mind been running wild while I just hang on for the ride? Here's something I've observed in successful people and unsuccessful people alike over many, many years of study. The difference is almost never talent. It's almost never opportunity. The difference is almost always this: the successful person has learned to manage their own mind, and the unsuccessful person has let their mind manage them. That's the whole game right there. Same 24 hours in a day for both of them, same basic human brain, wired the same way, capable of the same range of thought, but one person has taken command of that instrument, and the other person is being dragged around by it like a dog dragging its owner down the street. Now let's talk about thoughts for a moment, because I want you to understand something about them that most people never stop to consider. A thought by itself has no power over you until you give it your attention. Think of a thought like a knock at the door. Somebody knocks, that's just a thought showing up. You don't have to answer every knock. You don't have to invite every visitor inside your house and offer them a seat at your table and let them stay for dinner and then let them move into the guest room permanently. But that's exactly what most people do with their negative thoughts. A thought of doubt knocks, and instead of simply acknowledging it and letting it pass by, they open the door, invite it in, feed it, entertain it, and before long that thought has unpacked its bags and is living there rent-free, influencing every decision in the house. Let me tell you about the discipline of the pause, because this is one of the most powerful tools you will ever learn in controlling your mind. Between the moment a thought arrives and the moment you act on it, there is a gap. That gap is where your entire freedom lives. Most people don't know the gap exists, so they react instantly. A negative thought shows up, and within half a second they've already spoken the angry word, already given up on the goal, already told themselves the old familiar lie. But if you can train yourself to notice that gap, even just for 3 seconds, you create space to choose your response instead of simply reacting to your thought. 3 seconds doesn't sound like much, but let me tell you, entire lives have been rebuilt in that 3-second gap, because that's where the decision gets made. Do I let this thought run me, or do I run this thought? Now, controlling your mind does not mean pretending everything is fine when it isn't. I want to be very clear about that, because some people hear control your mind and they think it means putting on a fake smile and ignoring real problems. That's not control, that's denial. And denial always collapses eventually, usually at the worst possible time. Real mind control, the kind I'm talking about, means feeling the difficult emotion, acknowledging the hard truth, and then consciously choosing your next thought instead of letting the difficulty spiral into 100 related fears that have nothing to do with the original problem. That's the trap most people fall into. One bad thing happens, and instead of dealing with that one thing, the mind takes off running, and suddenly you're not just worried about the one problem, you're worried about your whole future. Your whole identity, every mistake you've ever made, all stacked on top of each other in a single afternoon. That's not thinking, that's flooding. And a trained mind knows the difference between addressing a problem and drowning in it. I remember learning a phrase many years ago that changed how I saw all of this. You don't have to believe everything you think. Read that again, because it might be the most liberating sentence you hear all year. Just because a thought shows up in your head does not make it true. Just because your mind says you're going to fail does not mean failure is your destiny. Just because your mind says nobody appreciates you does not mean that's an accurate account of reality. The mind generates thousands of thoughts a day, and a good number of them are exaggerated, outdated, fear-based, or flat out wrong. Your job is not to obey every thought that shows up. Your job is to be the judge in the courtroom, weighing the evidence and only accepting the thoughts that actually hold up under cross-examination. Let's talk about the words you feed your mind. Because your mind is a lot like soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant in it, good or bad. And it does not discriminate. If you plant seeds of doubt every single day, don't be surprised when a harvest of doubt shows up in your life. If you plant seeds of complaint, don't be surprised when your whole existence starts to feel like something to complain about. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. The same soil that grows weeds can grow fruit if you're willing to do the work of planting something better. Every single day, you are choosing what you plant, whether you realize it or not. The conversations you allow, the content you consume, the self-talk you repeat in the shower and in the car and right before you fall asleep, all of it is seed, and all of it is going into the same soil, and all of it is going to grow into something eventually. Now, I want to address something that trips a lot of people up, and that's the difference between controlling your mind and suppressing your mind. Suppression is when you shove a feeling down, refuse to look at it, and pretend it doesn't exist. That's not control. That's a delay tactic. And delayed emotions have a nasty habit of showing up later, usually bigger and uglier than they would have been if you dealt with them honestly the first time. Real control means you look the thought straight in the eye. You acknowledge it fully. You say, I see you, I understand where you came from, and I am still choosing a different direction. That's control. That's mastery. That is a person standing in the driver's seat of their own mind instead of hiding in the trunk hoping the ride ends soon. Let me tell you why this matters so much for the direction of your entire life. Every result you have ever produced started as a thought. Every business that was ever built started as a thought somebody refused to let go of. Every relationship that was ever repaired started with a thought that said, maybe there's still a way through this. And on the flip side, every opportunity that was ever missed, every relationship that fell apart, every dream that got abandoned somewhere in there, a thought took root that said, I can't, or it's too late, or I'm not enough. And that thought was allowed to run the show without ever being challenged. So when I say control your mind, understand that I am really saying control your future, because your future is simply the compounded result of the thoughts you allow to take root today. I want to give you something practical here, because philosophy alone doesn't move mountains. Discipline does. Every single day, you will have thoughts that try to convince you to quit, to shrink, to settle, to believe the worst about yourself and about your circumstances. Your job every single day is to catch those thoughts early before they've had time to multiply. The moment you notice a thought like this isn't working, or I'm not cut out for this, stop right there and ask yourself one question. Is this thought serving the life I'm trying to build, or is it sabotaging it? If it's sabotaging it, you do not have to obey it. You can acknowledge it, thank it for showing up, and then deliberately choose a better thought to replace it. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is training, the same way you'd train a muscle. And just like a muscle, it gets stronger every time you use it and weaker every time you neglect it. Let's talk about environment for a moment, because your mind does not operate in a vacuum. The people you spend time with, the content you scroll through, the conversations you allow into your daily life, all of it is either strengthening your ability to control your mind or weakening it. If you surround yourself with complaint, You will find complaining thoughts easier to access than thoughts of gratitude. If you surround yourself with people who catastrophize every small setback, you will find your own mind reaching for catastrophe faster than it reaches for calm. This is why the discipline of controlling your mind isn't just an internal exercise. It also requires you to be honest about what you're feeding it from the outside. You cannot expect a disciplined, calm, resilient mind if you are constantly feeding it chaos, comparison, and negativity from every screen and every conversation around you. There's a story I've shared before about two men looking out from the same prison window. One saw mud, one saw stars. Same window, same bars, same circumstances, completely different experience, because the difference wasn't in the window, it was in the mind looking through it. That story has stuck with people for generations because it captures something true about all of us. We don't just react to our circumstances, we react to our interpretation of our circumstances, and that interpretation is entirely a product of the mind. Two people can lose the same job. One spirals into months of self-pity, and the other treats it as the exact push they needed towards something better. Same event, different mind, different life that follows. So here is what I want you to walk away with today. Controlling your mind does not mean never having a difficult thought again. That's not realistic, and it's not even healthy. Controlling your mind means you become the one deciding which thoughts get to stay and which ones get shown the door. It means you build the habit of pausing in that small gap between thought and reaction and using that gap to choose deliberately instead of reacting blindly. It means you stop believing every single thing your mind tells you just because it told you with confidence, because confidence is not the same thing as truth. And it means every single day you take responsibility for the seeds you're planting in that soil, because whatever you plant today, you will be harvesting for years to come. I'll leave you with this. Nobody else can control your mind for you, and thank goodness for that, because it means nobody else gets to determine your outcome either. Your mind is the one instrument you were given complete ownership over, and how you play it determines the entire tone of your life. Play it with discipline. Play it with intention. Refuse to let every random thought conduct the orchestra of your day, and you will find that circumstances that used to break you start to simply bend around you instead. That's not luck. That's mastery. And it starts every single time, the moment you decide to take back the reins of your own mind. If this message landed with you today, let me know in the comments what thought you're deciding to stop obeying, starting right now. And don't forget to tell everyone where in the world you're watching this from. Let's see how far this one travels.